All right, guys, happy Tuesday. What do I have for you today? Well, it's the lawsuit that the media wants conveniently memory hold. Don't worry, I won't let it go. Honestly, when I really think back to when the media turned on me, it really was when I covered this lawsuit. I think that was the first time that all of these attacks were coming out of nowhere. Candace just making wild accusations. I'm like, I actually just read the Diddy lawsuit. And today it's a crazy update because the guy who brought forth that lawsuit, a producer named Rodney Jones, also known as Lil Rod, and he also brought that lawsuit not just against Diddy, but Universal Music Group and others. He credibly accused them of sexual assault, grooming, even a shooting cover-up. Well, guess what? After months spent in hiding, Rodney Jones is speaking out, and we have the explosive update for you. And speaking of those who are willing to take a stand, RFK Jr. issued a profound statement against Big Pharma, and we have got to run that for you. I should have run it much earlier. Do you guys think that he would have been a better pick for VP? I'm not saying I think that. I'm asking you, what do you think? And lastly, I'm sure you guys saw this, but Mark Zuckerberg did something strange. He really came out guns a-blazing against the Biden administration, saying that he was pressured by them to censor Facebook. Oh, so interesting. I wonder why they wanted him to censor Facebook. Because they were lying? So why has he decided to speak out now, and is it going to make a difference? We're going to talk about that. All that coming up on Candace. Did he do it? That is the question, and I'm going to give you guys my opinion on this. So obviously we have to recap the lawsuit because I want to be the Nancy Grace of a Diddy lawsuit because I'm just obsessed with it because no one else is covering it. That makes me even more interested. Of all the things the media go after, all of the individuals they go after, wall-to-wall coverage. If you have an excerpt of something that I've said out of context, she's unhinged. No one will touch this lawsuit. What does that mean? That means that real power is involved in this lawsuit. That is the meaning of it. And of course, we know that real power has a stranglehold over Hollywood. So to briefly recap, I'm just going to give you the three most explosive things that came out of this lawsuit. The first thing was that Diddy regularly drugs and records artists, just to be clear, allegedly. This is a lawsuit I am reading against him. And that these up-and-coming artists in the industry are caught on camera, on Diddy cam, if you will, doing things they probably would not want to have exposed to the public. But of course, they're high, they're drunk. And effectively, the implication here is that those recordings could eventually be used as blackmail. I'm going to read you direct from the lawsuit. Mr. Jones has secured irrefutable evidence of the acquisition, use, and distribution of ecstasy, cocaine, GHB, ketamine, marijuana, and shrooms. The displaying and distribution of unregistered illegal firearms, Mr. Combs providing laced alcoholic beverages to minors and sex workers at his homes, plural, in California, New York, and the U.S. Virgin Islands and Florida. Mr. Combs' chief of staff, named Christina Coram, referred to as KK, instructing her staff to retrieve drugs so that she can provide it to Mr. Combs for his consumption. Christian Combs, that's Diddy's son, drugging and sexually assaulting a woman. Mr. Combs detailing how he planned to leverage his relationship with Bishop T.D. Jakes to soften the impact on his public image regarding the Cassie Ventura lawsuit. Young Miami's cousin, that's another rapper and/or assistant, sexually assaulting Rodney Jones. Actor Cuba Gooding Jr. sexually harassing and also assaulting Mr. Jones. A rapper whose name was redacted on Mr. Combs' yacht, consorting with underage girls, sex workers, yada, yada. You get this. Again, naming the fact, saying rather, that there are underage girls and sex workers involved throughout all of this. And I'm just like, wow, did we just arrest Pavel Durov a couple of days ago? It's just amazing because he created a platform. They're like, well, bad things could be happening on this platform. But then when you have this lawsuit, and I want to be very clear of why I'm saying this is a credible lawsuit, because he supplied endless videos, photos, screenshots to prove that what he was saying was true. Okay, so this isn't like some random person filing a lawsuit. You know, I was like the loudest voice against Me Too. I even had to step out of myself and defend Matt Lauer, who was very much on the opposite side of the political aisle from me, because I thought that what happened to him was completely unfair. I mean, somebody made an allegation. He lost his entire life. It turned out he was having a years-long affair with the girl. I am not here for like baseless accusations. But this was not baseless. Any person who read through this document, and you should take the time to read through this document, realizes what on earth is going on in Hollywood. That's the first question that you'll ask yourself. And then you will start to recognize that the media is complicit in covering this up. And then you start to ask yourself, why is that? Second biggest thing that came out of this lawsuit, the most explosive claim, was that he himself, Rodney Jones, witnessed a shooting and that the LAPD and the media colluded to help Diddy cover it up. Now, if you're a person who watches this show, you're going, Candace, I read Chaos and I know exactly what this is about. Yup. Yeah, this has been going on for decades. We understand it was very heavily implied and I believe verified in the Chaos book after that reporter worked for decades to file FOIA requests that there are CIA and FBI members that work at the LAPD and their job is, in fact, to cover up crimes. Like that book told you that the CIA and the FBI were involved in the Manson murders, that he was actually a person that was under the auspices of the federal government, Charles Manson. And then the media lied about what happened that day. And if you read that book, Hollywood Babylon, you start to realize, okay, yeah, no, this has been a thing for a long time. Having police officers that actually are agents for the federal government. So that gets interesting when he starts saying that, yeah, no, they definitely covered up a shooting. And I'll read you how he described it, just to go back to the lawsuit. He wrote, one evening during this camp, this was taking place at a recording studio, Mr. Combs, Justin Combs, that is Diddy's son, and G, that is the unnamed person that was allegedly shot, were in a heated conversation. That conversation was moved out of the studio and into a restroom adjacent to where Mr. Jones was sitting. Mr. Jones was approximately 2 feet away from the bathroom when gunshots rang out, and Mr. Jones recalls hearing multiple gunshots. He immediately went into a state of shock and fear that he would be shot next. He genuinely believed that he would be shot through the door due to how close he was. After the shooting ended, a crowd gathered around the restroom. When the door finally opened, Mr. Combs and Justin Combs exited. G was lying on the restroom floor in a fetal position, holding his stomach and bleeding out of his leg and hip area. Everyone stood around looking upon G, frustrated by the lack of aid that was being supplied to G. Mr. Jones dropped everything, ran to G, and immediately began placing pressure on G's gunshot wound to his stomach. As he was applying pressure on his stomach, Mr. Jones realized that G was gushing blood from another area near his leg and his hip. He decided to lift G and placed him to sit on the toilet. Mr. Jones asked the crowd to call the ambulance. Mr. Jones lifted G and brought him to the ambulance at the studio's front. Now, if you're wondering how on earth could they have pulled this off? How could a shooting have happened at a recording studio and we are not aware of it in the public? That's a pretty big thing. Well, the public, and he's alleging this, lied. The media lied and said that it was a drive-by shooting that took place and essentially made it so that no one would worry about what he is alleging was Diddy and his son involved in a shooting at the studio. He goes on to say that Diddy, and I'm going to show you, by the way, this picture. We're going to blur it a bit because I don't want this to get banned from YouTube. But when I say that he supplied evidence and why this is so credible, this is an actual picture that he supplied of the bathroom that night, that he says that he was there when somebody got shot. He's blood all over the floor. He shows the cleanup. So like I said, extremely credible here. He's got photos, he's got documents. Of course, you can't fake that, meaning that once you go and have to go through the process of a lawsuit, they're going to be able to see when exactly you shot that, where exactly you shot that photo. So this would be a really silly lie to tell, especially against someone with the power and the resources that Sean Combs has. But he goes on to say in this lawsuit that Mr. Combs instructs his staff to always contact Mr. Muhammad. Okay, this brings in a man named Fahid Muhammad. If they are ever pulled over by the police in Miami or California, upon information and belief, Mr. Muhammad spoke with the LAPD after G was shot at the recording studio. And the LAPD was in the recording studio. They witnessed the blood in the restroom. They went with the bogus claim that the shooting of G occurred outside the studio, wrote a fake report, and he is asserting that that is all thanks to Mr. Muhammad's connections. Now stop everything in case you have not heard this, because the media is not caring to tell you this, which is even more suspicious. But Fahid Muhammad, rather, this security person that you're supposed to call as a cleanup person, also has a strange past where he was also the security for Michael Jackson. He was newly hired and was the security for Michael Jackson when Michael Jackson was overdosed by accident by his doctor. The only people present that day were the doctor and then this security person who now works for Diddy. And there is a TikToker who does great work, because you're not going to find investigation work done in the mainstream media. Their job is to cover, but the TikTokers will get on it. And there's this wonderful TikToker named Ian Carroll who looked into the background of this Mr. Fahid Muhammad, and you're not going to believe what he discovered. Take a listen.
But then, when you start looking up Fahim Muhammad, you quickly realize that yes, he was the head of security for Michael Jackson. This is a picture from him testifying in court about Michael Jackson's death. And when you listen to that testimony, you discover that he was the second person on the scene. He says that when he entered the room, the doctor was there, apparently trying to give CPR to what looked like a dead Michael Jackson. And then Jackson's two kids arrived in the door and were sobbing and crying. But when you look deeper, it gets even weirder. This is his bio from his investment management company called Oasis. It's a real estate investment company, where it says that he founded Elite Transportation and Security Services, and then he grew that company into a multi-million-dollar business, which currently has several exclusive security contracts with A-list clients like Diddy. But when you look up Elite Transportation and Security Services LLC, you get a really different picture. It was founded in 2016, apparently has 5 official employees, and is estimated to make $248,000 a year in revenue. Multi-million-dollar business? Multiple exclusive contracts? In 2008, Fahim graduated from Sacramento State University with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration with a concentration in real estate and marketing. Okay? Do you realize what's wrong with that yet? Anything coming to mind? When did Michael Jackson die? June 25th, 2009. Jackson died from cardiac arrest caused by a propofol and benzodiazepine overdose, caused by his doctor apparently. Hold up. Hold the phone. Pause. Why is a dude who just graduated college last year with a business and real estate degree the head of security for the king of pop, for Michael Jackson, the most famous musician of all time?
It's a very good question. I have another question. Why are people like Ian Carroll doing more investigative work than the entire mainstream media apparatus? Oh, I know, because they work for the state. That's the reality. And yeah, nothing about that guy's background makes any sense. How he got access to Michael Jackson, why he was one of 2 people that were there on the scene that morning, and why he's lying about his entire security firm and how much it earns. And by the way, we will link it. You should go watch Ian's entire video on this, because it's actually stunning. It's more than that. The guy's got like tons of property down at the border, very shady stuff. And of course, like I said, the media won't touch this. They won't touch any of this. We don't know why, but maybe know why if we look into the history of Hollywood. It is a fact that Hollywood was established, at least if you're reading Kenneth Anger's book, by a bunch of former gangsters. They came to Hollywood looking to make a buck. And yeah, a lot of people got killed in the beginning, middle, and the end as they fought for control. But I'm not allowed to say that. That's the first thing I said that kind of got me into trouble. How dare you imply that a place that was started by gang members could possibly still have gang members in it? Third most explosive thing that came out of this lawsuit was that he alleges that Universal Music Group knew about these parties with the cameras and the drugs, and that this sort of ring was being protected from the higher-ups at the Universal Music Group. He named Lucien Grange as one of the people that he is suing. He heavily implied that Diddy may have secured blackmail against the blackmailers, so to speak. Like, he's saying that Lucien Grange and the Universal Music Group execs allowed these things to take place, but also that Diddy may, and I'm going to read you the excerpt, have some videos of them maybe doing some things that they wouldn't want exposed. He wrote, as a sponsor of these events, defendant Grange had a duty and obligation to ensure that sex workers and underage girls were not present and that Mr. Combs was not spiking the alcohol with date rape drugs. While living and traveling with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones discovered that Mr. Combs has hidden cameras in every room of his homes. Mr. Jones believes that Mr. Combs has recordings of defendants Lucien Charles Grange, Ethiopia, Habta Mariam, as well as other celebrities, music label executives, politicians, and athletes. That, my friend, is why the media does not want to cover this. Because if Diddy was at the very least smart enough to realize that he may have been at the top of the food chain in some sort of a gang situation, he may have thought to take out an insurance policy because he knows how this place operates, that people can go missing and die. So he may have just started video recording everything and collecting stuff on the people that he was working for or with. And if they know that, having read this lawsuit, they're going to want to know where all the copies are of all of the footage that he has of them. What footage does he have of Lucien Grange? What footage does he have of the Universal Music Group execs? They don't know, and that's going to terrify them, because if Diddy is kind of smart, he will have made sure copies were made and that he gave it to his sons, he gave it to relatives, he gave it to other people, and probably said, if anything happens to me, you just put this right on YouTube. You put this right on X. I'm guessing here. I'm just using a little bit of common sense. But if that is the truth, then they're going to be very careful in how they deal with him. They're going to be watching everything that he does. And I believe that this is the reason why nobody wants to touch this. They just don't know what it is that he has gathered over the years. So yes, Little Rod has, since filing that lawsuit, been in hiding, but now he has emerged to give an interview with Rolling Stone magazine saying, and that the reason that he has been hiding is because he's fearful for his life. When the Rolling Stone reporter asked him about when was the first time he recognized that something was wrong with Diddy, when did he start to realize this pattern of abuse, he dictates this time, he speaks about this time, reflects upon this time during Thanksgiving, in which Diddy, this is a quote, went in his bathroom and attached to the studio and summoned me, asked me if I had a $100 bill. There were 3 white lines on the sink. He asked me to do something I've never done before. It was awkward. He was trying to get me to do some drugs. When asked, how do you describe Diddy? He said he is a monster. He'll do whatever is necessary to get exactly what he wants. He doesn't take no for an answer. He told me himself, I'll smack my mama. Anybody who can say that even jokingly is a monster. He is nothing to be played with. For a person whose brand is Love Records and changed their name to Love and named their kid Love, he doesn't show love. He is just marketing. When the reporter asked Rodney Jones, why do you feel you need security? Are you afraid of Diddy? He answered clearly, yes. I got threats. He's very connected. It has made me nervous traveling, going to hotels. I ask if there's any way to remove my name. The last time I landed in LA, I knew he had connections there. I got off the plane worried. I masked my face. I changed my outfits. Everybody has seen the video of Cassie. This is who I'm dealing with. Yes, we have all seen the video of Diddy beating the crap out of Cassie. And all he had to do was say, I'm sorry. Yeah. Pavel Durov, lock this guy up for creating technology where people can communicate freely. Diddy just, give a video and say, I'm so sorry for that time I beat her or whatever. And he was asked, what do you want people to know about the situation? Rodney was asked that, and he said, he wants people to know that Diddy is nothing more than a shrewd, a crooked businessman. He has stolen publishing for years. He's nothing but a thief. He has no soul. He lives off other people's gifts and talents. It's not a human way to live. And on that note, and in closing, I want to remind you that this is probably the clearest statement to come out of this entire thing. I tell you all the time that we are dealing with people that are demonic. I believe that Hollywood was established by people who quite literally worship the devil, right? And because they are demonic, they do not have the creative force in them. They do not have the force of the creator in them. And so they have to lie, they have to steal, they have to cheat, and they have to deceive. And if Diddy has sold his soul to the devil, then he becomes that exact same person. And it's unfortunate, but I promise you guys, it doesn't matter how much the media tries to avoid and ignore this lawsuit, I will continue to cover it because it is crucial, as we are all starting to see that just, one thread in the tapestry of deception. It just takes pulling at one thread, and now we're all starting to see that it's all falling apart. It's all falling apart. We're recognizing that we have been living a lie, and that people with a lot of power have been doing horrific things in plain day sight. But I think their time is coming up, and I think they know it too, and they're starting to get sloppy. So pray for Rodney. He says that he's flat broke and in hiding, and obviously he hasn't put up a GoFundMe or I would be promoting it. And also pray for us. Pray for the entire world right now, as a lot of evil is being exposed in this moment. I very briefly want to thank and promote Grand Canyon University, one of the sponsors of the show. I've told you about them. They're a private Christian university in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. They believe that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. GCU's mission is to empower virtuous action through higher education. By honoring your career calling, you impact your family, your friends, and your community. Change the world for good by putting others before yourself to glorify God. Whether you your pursuit involves a bachelor's, a master's, or a doctoral degree, GCU's online, on-campus, and hybrid learning environments are designed to help you achieve your unique academic, personal, and professional goals. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. It's private, it's Christian, and it's affordable. So visit gcu.edu. Again, that is gcu.edu. All right, guys, let's get into some stories. I don't know if you saw this trending. I saw it trending on X. Basically, Mark Zuckerberg did something quite interesting. I don't really know what to think of him lately. I just don't know. He's growing his hair out. He's like a different Mark Zuckerberg now. See, look, he's got long hair. I feel like that means something. It means he's freeing himself from something. Look, he's a coward. There's no question. But I think that he's a coward with some regret for having been a coward, which is why what he has done, he's admitted in a public letter that his company was pressured by the Biden-Harris administration to censor Americans, particularly regarding COVID-19 content. So he made that admission again in a letter to the House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan of Ohio. And so I'm going to just read you a portion of Mark Zuckerberg's letter. You can pull it up right there, Chris, and just let it sit there for a bit. He wrote, Chairman Jordan, I appreciate the committee's interest in content moderation on online platforms. As you are aware, Meta has produced thousands of documents as part of your investigation and made a dozen employees available for transcribed interviews. Further to our cooperation with your investigation, I welcome the opportunity to share what I have taken away from this process. There is a lot of talk right now about how the U.S. government interacts with companies like Meta, and I want to be clear about our position. Our platforms are for everyone. We're about promoting speech and helping people connect in a safe and secure way. As part of this, we regularly hear from governments around the world and others with various concerns around public discourse and public safety. In 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. Ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take the content down, and we own our decisions, including COVID-19 related changes that we made to our enforcement in the wake of this pressure. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. I also think we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today. Like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration, either direction, and we're ready to push back if something like this happens again. So, yeah, I think that's really important that he is speaking out and saying that. But the question is, why now? He then also speaks about the Biden family leading up to the 2020 election and how the FBI essentially warned him that this is Russian disinformation. We know it wasn't Russian disinformation. We know that it was a fact that they had shady dealings in Ukraine. We know that it is also a fact that the laptop was authentic, and yet Facebook suppressed it because they had pressure from the FBI. And he is now admitting all of that on record. Again, I'll ask the question, why is he doing that? Well, it's got to be maybe one of a few things here. Either he is watching what's happening to Pavel Durov, and he's having a spiritual change, because I believe that people can change spiritually. And I do believe right now that the Holy Spirit is working through a lot of people. And maybe he is recognizing that he has been a coward in the past, and that he has been pressured, and that he's tired of helping the bad guys. And so he's telling the public right now, maybe this is him saying to the public, you are about to elect this again into office. People that censored you, people that lied to you, people that allowed many people to go out and get injured. And they may have made a different decision about whether or not they would have gotten the vaccine had they had been allowed speech, meaning had they had been allowed to listen to different perspectives. Mine was one of them. I said to people, and I got hit on Facebook, right? They actually stopped my advertising on my page because I said, don't get this vaccine, and here's why, okay? Don't forget, I notoriously even had a lawsuit against Facebook because of the stuff that they were saying that I was lying about. And I'm so glad that he now has the benefit of hindsight, because my lawsuit, they wouldn't even allow my lawsuit to go through, because the fact of the matter is that you have district attorneys that are even bought out. I mean, the entire legal system is crap, right? You have George Soros, who's personally seeing to it that DAs are being elected to do his bidding all across America. This is how you get, prosecution against Donald Trump for something that happened, legally speaking, decades ago. They're like, oh, we'll just change the law so that we can prosecute him anyways, because Jean Carroll wants to prosecute him and we want to see him go down. Okay, this is the world that we live in, okay? And Mark Zuckerberg allowed that. He allowed people like me to get censored for trying to get different information out to people so that they could make a rational decision and not one that was made out of fear. And so he regrets that. And maybe he regrets that for a variety of reasons. And maybe he is trying to signal to the public, like, hey, don't elect these people again. Like, evil is very close to winning. Now, the question is it going to impact the election? No. Nope. You cannot tell me anything different when it comes to Kamala Harris supporters. I am telling you, these people are mesmerized by the mainstream media. Like, they are a study in hypnosis. Like, they don't call it TV programming for nothing. These people are programmed bots. They are the ones that believed the virus was going to kill them, believe they needed the vaccine, got the vaccine, ignored their side effects, let their grandmas die alone. Then when the media said, never mind, we lied about everything, they were like, it's okay, I forgive you. It's like a toxic relationship. They're in a toxic relationship with the media, right? And then the media was like, we hate Kamala. They were like, I hate her too. And then like 2 weeks ago, they were like, never mind, we love her. She's Beyonce. And they're like, I love her too. She's Beyonce. I love Kamala Harris. I mean, I'm telling you, these are bots. There's just nothing's going to change them. Literally, Mark Zuckerberg could show the corruption. He could be like, look, these are the emails I got. Look, they put a gun to my head, a figurative gun to my head or a literal gun to my head. He could do all of that and they wouldn't change their vote. I am telling you, I have seen people that are this programmed. They just have decided to follow that final instruction, that final Aurelian instruction, not to believe their own eyes. And so I'm grateful that Mark Zuckerberg is speaking out. I'm grateful that people are now aware of what we said back in 2021, that they were using censorship to force people to put a vaccine in their arm and earn themselves trillions of dollars. But I'm afraid that I do believe that it's also too little, too late. All right, guys, before we get into this next story, I want to remind you guys about American financing. I know there's so many people that are stressed right now because the monthly income does not feel like it's cutting it. It's not covering the bills. And people are seeing that everything's gotten so much more expensive. They're reaching for their credit cards to cover basics like childcare, insurance, power, food. It is tough. If you're feeling this way, you should call my friends at American Financing. They're helping hardworking Americans just like you tap into their home's equity line to pay off their high interest debt and even create some additional savings to be ready for whatever life throws your way. With interest rates dropping, a company like American Financing that never charges any upfront or hidden fees is the perfect partner to help you get into a better financial position. Their consultants are saving homeowners over $800 a month on average. Waiting is therefore not an option, so please call 800-795-1210. That's 800-795-1210. Or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. Okay, I have got to throw this to my guy, RFK. Now, why do I call him my guy, RFK Jr.? Well, I have been very vocal against vaccines my entire political career, but before it was popular to do so, before COVID hit, I have been a anti-vax, non-vaxxer, added to the list of things that I was once upon a time referred to as unhinged for. And then like years later, people were like, oh yeah, no, she's kind of got a point there. And I think that I guess you could deem me to be a radical on this topic because I think some people are like, okay, well, maybe the COVID one. I'm like, no, my kids are not vaxxed at all. Whatever, don't at me. Anyways, the reason that I got there was because I was vaccine injured by the Gardasil vaccine when I was about 20 years old. And then when I did my research after being injured, I went, oh my gosh, how could I have fallen for like commercials and just blindly trusting a doctor without even knowing the statistics myself, which I would have always said no to this vaccine had I had known the information, as opposed to just like the fear mongering of get this vaccine or you're going to get, I don't know if it was cervical or ovarian cancer. All of that ended up, for me, my opinion, rather, having looked into the statistics, to be an absolute nonsense to make people believe that this vaccine is helpful in any way or doesn't carry way more risk than reward. And so what is interesting is that then brought me to RFK Jr. Before he ever ran for president, he was running the only charity, which was called Children's Health Defense, to speak about these topics because there's obviously a media blackout because the media is in part funded by Big Pharma. It is the biggest lobby that we have. I think the two biggest lobbies in DC are Big Pharma and then APAC, like not even kidding. And so, of course, because money is being thrown at them, they all stay in line and they tell you to get the vaccine and trust the vaccine. And so when he had this amazing resource, Children's Health Defense, and I was able to look up all of these articles and learn about vaccines, I then made a decision not to vaccinate my children. None of them are vaccinated, not even one. Anyways, he, in his speech where he said, I'm no longer going to run for president of the United States and I'm going to support Donald Trump, made a remarkable statement regarding the pharmaceutical industry. I refer to the pharmaceutical industry as, the greatest drug cartel that's ever existed. Like, LOL, if you think it's like El Chapo and people in Mexico. You just need to wake up and meet your own government. El Chapo dreamed. When El Chapo gave an MLK speech, he was like, one day I have a dream that I will control politicians, I'll have a lobbying group, and I will be able to get the FDA to clear all of this cocaine that I'm going to give and get people addicted to. Like, that's my viewpoint on El Chapo now. Like, that's like kiddie stuff, right? But it's a good movie, it's a good series, whatever. So people think not, because I guess you think if your doctor says you should take it, that means it's somehow not a drug. Anyways, let's cut to RFK Jr. and what he said in the speech that was so impactful and that I should have covered right away. Take a listen.
Are we allowing this to happen to our children? These are the most precious assets that we have in this country. How can we let this happen to them? About 18% of American teens now have fatty liver disease. That's like 1 out of every 5. That disease, when I was a kid, only affected late-stage alcoholics who were elderly. Cancer rates are skyrocketing in the young and the old. Young adult cancers are up 79%. 1 in 4 American women is on antidepressant medication. 40% of teens have a mental health diagnosis. And 15% of high schoolers are on Adderall, and 500,000 children on SSRIs. So what's causing this suffering? I'll name 2 culprits. First, and the worst, is ultra-processed food. About 70% of American children's diet is ultra-processed. That means industrial manufactured in a factory. These foods consist primarily of processed sugar, ultra-processed grains, and seed oils. Laboratory scientists many of whom formerly worked for the cigarette industry, which purchased all the big food companies in the 1970s and 80s, deployed thousands of scientists to figure out new chemicals to make the food more addictive. And these ingredients didn't exist 100 years ago. Humans aren't biologically adapted to eat them. Hundreds of these chemicals are now banned in Europe, but ubiquitous in American processed foods. The second culprit is toxic chemicals in our food, our medicine, and our environment. Pesticides, food additives, pharmaceutical drugs, and toxic waste permeate every cell of our bodies. The assault on our children's cells and hormones is unrelenting. And name just one problem. Many of these chemicals increase estrogen because young children are ingesting so many of these hormone disruptors. America's puberty rate is now occurring at age 10 to 13, which is 6 years earlier than girls were reaching puberty in 1900. Our country has the earliest puberty rates of any continent on the earth. And no, this isn't because of better nutrition. This is not normal. Breast cancer is also estrogen-driven, and it now strikes 1 in 8 women. We are mass poisoning all of our children and our adults.
Well, let me tell you something right now. Hero for saying it. Hope he doesn't get Kennedy'd, because let me tell you, he's going up against real power right there, okay? When I say real power, I mean, when you look into the history of the vaccine industry, when you look into the history of the birth control industry, it is frightening. And I see somebody in the comments saying, Candace, no vaccines for your kids? 0, none. My kids, if a doctor came at them with a needle, they wouldn't even know what to do. They've never seen it. They've never been there. We don't go to any appointments. They're all just healthy. All my children are healthy, and I will never change my position on it. Like I said, I am happy to be maimed and caricatured. Every piece of what he is saying is the truth, okay? We are being poisoned, especially in America. It is a fact that you go overseas, this stuff is banned. The fact that Monsanto is allowed, the birth control industry, it's leading to illnesses, whether they're mental, physical, when you're talking about fertility issues, and it's just all right there. Like if you just go back and peel the onion and look at the history of how these things came to be, when you learn about how they experimented trying to make Africans infertile with some of these birth control pills and injections, it's shocking and it's terrifying, and it's the reason part of the reason that I know that God gave me a platform to speak out against it. Like, I am so proud of being maimed and caricatured when it comes to telling the truth regarding any topic. I am happy to be persecuted if it means waking up parents to the reality of what RFK Jr. is saying. And he's putting himself out there. I am putting myself out there as somebody who considers myself like a student of his children's health defense. And I then went and created a Shot in the Dark for moms so they could have, and dads, so they could have something accessible to then go to the pediatrician and not feel like an idiot when all they're doing is saying, if you don't do this, your kid's going to die. Like, what an awful thing to say to a vulnerable parent right when their child is born. God got it wrong. If you don't let us inject something into him right now, he's going to die. Like, that doesn't even pass the common sense check. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean he's wrong if he doesn't have vitamin K? He's going to die. Okay, well, if all babies are being born without a certain amount of vitamin K in them, maybe they don't need it on that first day. That's like the common sense thing. And they are pulling us into this humanist society, making people sick, making people ill. Like I said, all of the vaccines, the history is astounding. And the amount of money that I had to pay to even access it. Like, you have to be a doctor to even access the studies that they did years ago. Or you have to pay an offensive amount to access a study. And I did it because it was worth it. And so I'm really pleased to announce the Shot in the Dark is going to come back. We will begin releasing episodes again next month, and we will be announcing more in the future about how you can access those episodes. Obviously, we will make it available to all of our local supporters as extra content, but I just wanted to play that for you because it is just time. World, awaken. Awaken to the big pharma industry. Awaken to the pharmaceutical complex, the industrial complex. Awaken to the fact that they are making you sick and then selling you the cure. And look through the history of all the people that have been bold enough to come out and tell you this, and we're called quacks. Oh, he's a quack doctor. He's a crazy doctor. You know what's quack and crazy? Like telling me that a perfectly healthy child needs like 78 to 80 vaccines before they can leave high school. That's quacky to me. And so the world is changing. We're awakening to the evil. We are awakening to the monsters that have allowed this to go on for profit, and sometimes really, I believe, just for sheer evil. All right, guys, I'm going to get into some of your questions before we wrap this up. Let's see what we have going on in the live chats. Gabriela Ortiz writes, in your opinion, what psychological or societal factors make certain individuals more susceptible to believing misinformation or misleading narratives from left-leaning media and politicians? I would say I think those that associate it as a token of their education. So the longer that they stay in school, the more likely they are to succumb to the idea that they're educated. Because like, I remember being at university and they'd tell us these are the correct sources that are not fake news. And they would encourage us to read the New York Times, and they would encourage us to read CNN. And I was studying journalism. Like, this is what you can trust. Like Christina Omnipore, I can't think if it's Christina or Christiana, but was seen as just like a beacon of truth and veracity when I was in school. And so they're having their brains, they don't realize that they're being brainwashed in a classroom. They believe that they're being truly educated. And so then they develop sort of an ego, and their ego signals to them that, well, I went to college and you didn't go to college. And so obviously I know what I'm speaking about. And of course, we know that these college campuses are now totalitarian states that breed Marxism. Acid Brooks writes, I will make those who are of the synagogue of Satan, who claim to be Jews, though they are not, but are liars, I will make them come and fall down at your feet and acknowledge that I have loved you. That is such a beautiful, that is from Revelation in the Bible. And I just love that. Fall down at your feet and acknowledge that I have loved you. It's just so beautiful. Healing Earth Prayer writes, Candace, will you please join us in prayer for those who are trapped in the darkness and suffering in their rejection of their eternal creator? These elites who recreate their suffering unto the world need this the most. I pray every single day. Sarah Thabata writes, a lot of people have been talking about Jill Stein. I don't like her socialism, but she wants money out of the government and an end to all wars. She's also the only one not bribed or blackmailed by AIPAC. What is your opinion on her? Truly, I don't know enough about Jill Stein, but I would have a question if you say I don't like her socialism, but she wants money out of government, because I would say that's probably a conflicting 2 points. Like, socialism is really this idea that you should be taxing people to pay for others. And, I mean, that's a very basic explanation, but I would imagine you can't be a socialist without wanting a lot of taxation. Martini writes, Candace, as a younger gay Jewish guy, you have really changed my mind on so much. I have your autograph and your Santa's cup. Just wanted you to know some of us gays really appreciate all that you do. I do know that. And I have some people, like gay people, that come up to me and say thank you, because what is happening in the gay community, the black community, the Jewish community, it's all the same. You have people that will use the identity to hide what they are doing and say like, oh, well, you can't say anything to me even though like I'm a drug dealer because I'm black. And if you say that, then it's because you're a racist. Or you can't say anything to me because I committed an act of pedophilia because I'm Jewish. And if you say anything against me, then you're anti-Semitic. And the same with the gay people. You have so many people that are doing such perverse things, and they do it under this guise of like the rainbow flag. And if you don't like this, then, you know, you're a homophobe or a transphobe, whatever it is. And so I think the strongest stance that you can get is that you should take is to say, I am not my identity. It doesn't matter if I have same-sex attraction or if I'm Jewish or if I'm Christian or if I'm black. I am not going to allow bad people to be bad and then use our identity as an excuse. Anwar Abu Baker writes, I love your work, Candace. Please have on Scott Horton. He wrote the book on how we got involved in all the terror wars. Done, because I feel like Dave Smith pointed me to Scott Horton, and I did watch a little bit of a podcast that he did, and I would like to host a conversation with him. Men Needed Now with Patrick J. Carlin writes, Trump should have chosen Tucker Carlson for his VP, and I hope he makes RFK Jr. head of the USDA. RFK Jr. said he would not have accepted the VP spot on his interview with Tucker. Tucker is USA First. Yeah, but also Tucker wouldn't have accepted it because Tucker loves what he does, and I know that I have it on very good authority. Tucker would have been outstanding, though. I totally agree with you. But truthfully, the person that I would have wanted to be the VP and who I want to be the President of the United States someday, and I will crawl over broken glass to vote for him, is Thomas Massie. I do not think that there is a person that has been fighting harder for the American people than Thomas Massie, who has been so honest, who has been exposing how everyone is bought and paid for at great risk to himself. Thomas Massie is the hero that we need. And yeah, he's just got he's a tremendous mind, of course. He's MIT grad who has somehow wired his entire property that he like lives off of the land and makes his own electricity. I mean, just everything about him is just incredible. You got to look into Thomas Massie and his geeky life. He was on a show called Top Geek, which is amazing. Like I think he should brand that. He should be known as Top Geek always. Top Geek for Office 2028. You can take that to the bank. All right, guys. Well, it looks like we are coming. Let me jump into the live chat. Someone says RFK CIA, love Thomas Massie. Candace, Alex Jones for VP. Okay, I wouldn't be able to look away. How about Alex Jones for press secretary? I would be very much here for that. You guys, thanks for supporting the show. You can head to clubcandace.com if you'd like to buy yourself a Santa's cup. As I told you, we sold out and then we put them back onto the website last week. Also head to locals.com if you'd like to give to the show and keep us independent. It means the world. It allows us to keep talking about these topics that people want memory hold, but we will not allow them to be memory hold because I am Nancy Grace when it comes to Diddy and when it comes to Carly Russell. But Carly Russell, I should actually update that case. But we're on Diddy right now. We're coming for you, Diddy. We're not coming for you, but we're covering you, Diddy, and we're not going to let this one go. We'll see you guys tomorrow.